Thank you, Dr. Abhay sir and Dr. Chairman Scientific Committee, Dr. Partha, for the opportunity. So I would be reporting my worst case scenario, and as has been talked, I've been asked to talk about Rex's runaway. So they say when complications come, they come in crops, and they did so in my case also. The first case was an apprehensive patient who had been totally confined indoors because of COVID environment. So as we have been seeing, there's a spurt of mature cataracts. A very tensed up patient, capsulorhexis initiated, and as things would have it, I could sense that things are not working under my control. And as to my surprise, I found that it had extended. You can see the he's squeezing eye. The first thing which I did was I moved it around and I saw that the flap was fluttering. So I was going to use my flap motility sign to advantage. Then I put in my probe and saw that the flaps were everted and fluttering. That gave me an assurance that it was pre-equatorial and it had not become a wraparound tear. So I continued with my process. I was using a low IOP of around 40. I was evaluating and I was not pushing the nucleus by any mean. I was I wanted to have stable chamber settings as well when I was continuing. The separational forces were in the axis of the tear, so it was not putting much stress on the tear and making it extend. I was rotating it and not rotating it beyond it. And while chopping, the separational forces were not quite extensive in this case. I just continued, and my idea was to pull it into the anterior chamber. And at the same time, I was observing that the flap was everted and it was fluttering. So I knew that the flap was continuing to be pre-equatorial for that matter. So again, I put it up
25.
out and I
It get
continued
cool very fast.
this. And you can find that the flaps were still everted and fluttering. And I was using slow motion phaco for that matter. Interior chamber, since the nuclear pieces were not that hard because it was an intumescent cataract which was slightly brownish. At this, I was continuing with slow motion phaco, and the flaps were still fluttering at that point of time. Now, when I took it out, I maintained the interior chamber, put in visco so that there was no sudden shallowing of the interior chamber, and the chamber was maintained and before I took out the phaco probe. IA I started, and you can still see that the flap was fluttering and it was everted. So it was pre-equatorial by all means. Then I realized that the capsulorhexis at this point of time was not adequate. So I decided that why should I should put the intraocular lens, make things happen. Sorry. I should put the intraocular lens. And then after that, I decided to enlarge the rhexis. And you can find now that I'm enlarging the rhexis so that I can go subincisional because I don't use a bimanual. So I'm used to using a coaxial one. So taking advantage of enlarging the rhexis, I continued and I was able to do, you can still find that the flap is everted and fluttering by all means. So I was rest assured that everything was perfectly fine. And while doing stromal hydration, you will find that still the flap is fluttering. So my idea was totally achieved. Next was a silicone eye filled one-eyed post-RK patient. So there were more than 16 cuts. So I made a scleral tunnel and then I took out the silicone oil. The side port incision was slightly posterior and a guarded side port incision. Here I committed a mistake. I should have stained the anterior capsule, which I did not. And here you can see that it is extending to the periphery. I went in with the micro scissors because the other Vana scissors was not working because of the scleral incision, and somehow I completed the rexes. Once that was done, the next step was hydrodissection, which was a measured one, and it was not where the tear was. Once that was done, now I continued with the phacoemulsification. I put it on at a higher speed because of paucity of time. You will find that I will not move my phaco tip. I will try to keep it right in the middle so that I'm not putting any stress on the zone, on the radial cuts. So the scleral incision is also happening, and keeping everything, the phaco probe in the center also helped me at this point of time. So the next point was, once that was done, I wanted to take care of the posterior capsule, the cortex. When I was going around with the cortex, I could find that I was not able to do it. And there was a sheet which was so much adherent that my going very much to the periphery, and I did not want to go put more vacuum because the surgery had already been done, and I didn't want to put stress on the zonules. I did that, squirting of fluid with a 5 cc, and I could not create an opening. So I went on the polish mode and did the aspiration. You will find that the vacuum in all situation is not above 75 or 100. I created a plane, and I did you will find all the way that the flap is fluttering. So this fluttering flap meant that it was pre-equatorial. So all the way I continued, and I did polishing and aspiration of the sheet which was there on the posterior capsule, and I continued with the process. All the time I noted, you can see that the flap would flutter off and on, indicating that it is pre-equatorial. So flap motility sign in these patients, wherein there is a anterior capsular tear, helps us to ascertain whether it is pre-equatorial, and you can continue. The moment it stops fluttering, that is the time it shows that it has extended onto the posterior capsule. You should stop and convert. So you can still find that it is moving. So I continued with the process, and I was able to take care of the sheet on the posterior capsule, which was there. And once that was done, the job was practically done here. Then the IOL was implanted. You can still find that the flap is fluttering. So friends, using the flap motility sign, even the worst days cannot become worse, because you know where you are, and with conviction, you can continue with the surgery and have the end result. So I applied a suture, and the surgery ended. If the plan doesn't work, change the plan, but never the goal. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Lovely. Partha?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Rohit. It was two very, very, very nice cases. If I can come to the second case first, it was exquisitely shown that how the flap motility sign helps us, and you've done a great job. You've taught us how to decipher the flap motility sign. My one concern that I would like to ask is, this was a silicone-filled eye. So how would you calculate the accurate biometric calculation of such an eye? Because with the silicone-filled eye, the accuracy is definitely not there. However, understanding that the macula also is compromised, so it's an eye that is not going to give very good vision. But still, the biometric calculation, which to my mind will come, and you can please give your comments on this, that what I would like to do in such a case is leave the patient aphakic, take out the silicone oil, let it settle, because again, this is an eye with arcane incisions. Let it settle, do a proper biometry once it settles, and then put a secondary IOL in the sulcus. This would be my thought on it, because of the difficulty of doing accurate biometry because of the arcane incisions and the silicone fill of the eye. So what would be your thoughts?
I fully take your comments, what you are saying. That should be, and that would have been the ideal situation. The patient was one-eyed. He was already apprehensive. So for him, we had already explained the prognosis that he may end up with some refractive surprise. But we did the true K, Barrett's formula in this for the post RKI with a silicon field, and hope for the best.